guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to do another gear setup video, and for this one it'll be war belts. So whatever you want to call it, war belt, battle belt, it's going to be the belt that you're going to be wearing outside of your clothes, and that's going to have more gear on it than say an EDC belt. So being your first line gear, you kind of want to have the bare necessities, really being ammo and medical, and then based on your job you might tailor it other gear on your belt to your specific needs. So with that said, you don't want to overload it, because if you are in a capacity where you're going to have to wear this for long periods of time, these belts that have gotten stiffer and have plastic inserts in them will tend to dig into your side over a long duration. So just keep that in mind. We just need the bare necessities for what we need to get the job done. As I mentioned, most belts are pretty much the same in regards to the essentials as ammo and medical, and it's going to change based on your profession. If you're a civilian, your belt's probably going to be tailored more to the range, have some admin items and tools. If you're LE, you're probably going to have things like handcuffs and pepper spray and maybe even a taser. And if you're military, depending on your role in the military, you might have, a helo retention lanyard, flashbangs, or smoke grenades, whatever you need for your specific job. So just keep that in mind. This is kind of just a baseline for you to build off of, kind of see what some other people are running, and then build your belt out for whatever best suits you. If you're new to buying a war belt or a battle belt and you don't really know where to start, kind of find somebody that does a specific job role that you might do as civilian, LE, or mil, and almost copy their belt, because honestly everyone has a pretty similar setup. And then once you have your belt, you can test it out and see what works for you and adjust and change gear as necessary. So really there's two main types of war belts. There's two-piece belts, which is what I prefer to run. They're usually more stable. It has an inner belt that has a plastic insert, which gives it the rigidity. This will go through your belt loops, and then you'll have your outer belt, which is usually MOLLE, where you can attach all of your pouches and whatnot. The other type is kind of like the T-Rex or Orion belt, where it technically it does have an inner and outer belt, but the inner belt's slung through the outer belt here, and this belt can go completely around any garments or jackets or whatever you may be wearing. So it's really situation dependent. I like having both. 99% of the time I'm running the two-piece belt just for the rigidity and stability. Very stable. This stuff doesn't move around when I run around. But if I needed to go react to a situation really quick and didn't want to, loop this belt through my belt loops, I can just grab the Orion and throw that on real quick. Also nice if I just want to have a casual range day and don't really feel like putting all this stuff on. For gear placement, really you want to be conscious of a few things. One being in the prone. Personally, I like to keep the front of my belts pretty clean, so if I do have to go prone, my vertical profile is not heightened, because if you're going in the prone, you're probably in a bad situation. You want to be as low as you can, and the extra gear in front of you will not allow you to get as low to the ground as you could be if the gear wasn't there. And then the other big one is probably just being in a vehicle. You want to be conscious of what you're putting on your back, on the back of your belt, if you have to sit in a car for a long time, especially for LE or MIL if they're going around, in a car patrol. So with that said, run through my personal setup real quick. It's pretty simple, pretty standard as well. I've got the Ronin Warrior belt. I don't think they make it anymore, this specific model, but all their other belts are very similar. It's a two-piece belt. It's got a D-ring if you need to do that type of stuff. Out front I have gloves, any activity that you need that would potentially harm your hands. Sharp objects, hot objects, things that can poke you. Good to have a pair of gloves on hand. For my mag pouches, I'm running the Esstac KYWIs. Big fan of those because they're very low profile and they're economical. They're not that expensive. They have a nylon outer, and then there's a Kydex insert in there. So really good retention. I've never had a mag fall out or anything. If they're too tight or too loose, you can take the Kydex insert out and heat and mold it as required for your needs. Dump pouch is from Coyote Tactical Solutions. Really like their products. Laser cut, just very simple, very clean. Dump pouch, whatever you need it for on the range. It's usually used for extra mags, water bottles, snacks, or if you want to put rocks in your friend's belt until they notice, that's also a fun activity. For med pouch, I am also running the Coyote Tactical Burrito. It's got all the trauma gear you need in there. I run my shears in the back just so they don't dig into the back of my pants. I got a tourniquet on there as well, and then some chem lights on just an elastic Velcro piece right there. Chem lights are great at nighttime or low lights. You can mark things, don't overthink it. It's just a fancy glow stick. So mark spots to shoot or mark your friends so you can see them, especially when they're going down range during nighttime range days. Like I said, kind of want to have the necessities and the tools you need. It's almost like an extension of your plate carrier. So if you only have this on, I want to have almost everything that I have in my plate carrier just in a scaled down version. So I do have some batteries in there. It's a Ethereum cell vault. It can hold 3 CR123s and variations of other types like AA's and AAA's. They do make a double version, an XL, that can hold twice as many. A couple things I'm missing here is a knife. It's also good to have just for general purpose. I have the Gerber Strongarm knife, which has been great for me. You don't really have to go spend a few $100s on a knife that you're going to beat up and use anyway. I just don't have them on my belt right now. And then, as I mentioned, my belt's usually tailored for the range. So another thing I don't have in here is like a multi-purpose pouch or a GP pouch that has different tools like Sharpie, maybe tape, and a multi-tool. Just for things on the range that come up, like loose mounts and optics and whatnot. For my holster setup, I've got the True North holster adapter. I used to have the Safariland UBL, but didn't like how much it moved. The True North is nice because it can clip into your molly. And then there's several different options for you for mounting a holster or adjusting the cant on there. Big fan and big proponent of having an active retention holster on a war belt, just so that your gun's not going to go flying out of your holster if you're moving around or jumping out of cars or whatnot. So I do run the Safariland ALS series. I think this is a 6930, pretty standard ALS holster. And how I attach that to the True North, it has the Safariland QLS system. Not only is it great if you have different holsters that you can switch out quickly, it also kind of puts an offset on the holster and gives a little gap in there, so when you go for the draw, your thumb's not riding up against your UBL or your True North, whatever holster adapter that you're running. With the height of the holster, it's not a drop leg, it's kind of in that mid-range, so if you didn't have a leg strap, the holster would tend to kind of flex out when you draw, so having a leg strap is great. I've got the T-Rex Arms one, their new version that has the grommets, which will pick up that bottom mounting hole on the UBL slash QLS, which is great because the strap is not sliding around on your leg. And then here, there's just some free space where the adjustments are done for how tight your belt is. So I did pick up just a simple elastic tourniquet holder. Never a bad idea to have extra tourniquets as well. So just real quick, some other options here. This is Faro Bison belt. Big fan of the Bison belt besides their inner belt. I think the inner belt's a little too flimsy for my liking. So what he did is just got a Segura. It's
like a duty belt.
Just their
belt.
Inner belt from Segura. It's got the loop on there, so it'll pick up the Faro hook, and you can just throw this on. Much sturdier than the Faro, but he likes to keep his back clean. Just due to sitting in cars and whatnot, it'd be pretty uncomfortable, especially with the Burrito, how slim it is. It's even uncomfortable sitting in a car for a while. So he likes to run his meds in a fanny pack, so he can have that out front. And whenever he gets out of the car, he's not sitting down, he can throw that in the back of him, and it's out of the way. Another option for two-piece belt is the G-code. This one's set up for dog handling and some helicopter work. So, like I said, if you need a lanyard, I would check to make sure if your belt is helicopter rated. With that said, it's not much to it. Get the gear and test it out. You're never going to know how this stuff works unless you actually go use it. And that doesn't mean just going to the range and standing up and shooting statically. You need to run around. You'll find out real quick if your gear is going to yard sale. And then get in your car, because everyday citizens, that's a big part of our life is driving and mobility. and sit in your car for about 30 minutes and see how your belt feels. And you'll start to find out what works for you and what doesn't. Just some options for belts company-wise. I know it's kind of overwhelming to choose if you're just coming into the scene and haven't kept up with the gear progression, if you're not a geardo like myself. Some two-piece belts, Ronin, Blue Alpha Gear, GBRS, G-Code, Faro, Blue Force Gear, Pale Horse Concepts that just started coming out of the belt. Those are all great options. They're very similar. So you can kind of buy one, and the resale market's great. So if you don't like it, good chance of reselling it for 90% of what you bought it for. So don't be scared of trying out new things in that way. For the over the waistband belt that you can just throw on over everything, like the Orion, it's great. I'm a big fan of their new version because it's more it's stiffer than their older ones. I think they're on the Gen 4 or something like that. HSGI has another one, and Viking Tactics as well. Kyle Lamb makes good stuff. With that said, that pretty much wraps up the video. Don't overthink this, guys. Just get the basics and then get the little pouches and equipment that you need for your occupation. Yeah, get in the comments, comment below what belt setup you like and what gear you like to run, and we'll see you on the next one.